very warm welcome to the Daily Dispatch. I'm Priya Sheth, and on today's episode, I will be taking you through all the top stories coming from the Good Glam Group, Trifecta Capital, as well as PayPal. Well, headline number one, the Good Glam Group's shopping spree continues. The company has just announced the acquisition of digital media platform Scoop, and this move marks its entry into the content segment, especially in the male grooming category. Now, Scoop will continue working independently. Now, interestingly, Scoop's digital assets generate about 1 billion monthly impressions and engage over 100 million users. Well, headline number two, Trifecta Capital has invested about 400 crore rupees in 4 Indian tech companies, which include Ixigo, the Good Glam Group, API Holdings, as well as Meesho. These funds will be directed from its maiden equity fund, the Trifecta Leaders Fund 1. The fund was launched earlier this year with a target corpus of about 1,500 crore rupees and announced its first close in July. And finally, reports suggest that payments giant PayPal is in talks to acquire digital platform Pinterest at a valuation of about $45 billion. If this deal goes through, it will be the largest consumer internet deal of the past decade. It is learned that PayPal has offered around $70 a share for Pinterest. Buying Pinterest would underline PayPal's interest in moving further into e-commerce. Well, moving on to a very interesting panel. I have with me a power pack panel of experts in the clean tech space and also somebody who's been making investments in the clean tech space. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. Before I set the context of what the panel is really about, of course, I'm going to introduce each of you. We have with us Ankur Mittal from Inflection Point Ventures. We have with us Kishan Karunakaran, who is the CEO of Biofuel, and we have Amol Anand, who's the founder and director of Bloom Solar. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. The topic of the discussion today is clean tech, and of course, the ongoing coal crisis has really been, a wake-up call for all of us out here, and and there is definitely more relevance and more push towards clean tech as on an overall basis. So I want to begin with you, Ankur. You've been an investor in the clean tech space, and more than ever, we're seeing massive inflow of investments coming into the sector over the last couple of months as well. So tell us a little bit about the space. Why is there suddenly an interest that's peaked, and did we see this kind of crisis as coming, in the ecosystem?
Thanks, Priya. Well, it is not like something which has started only last 1 year or since the coal crisis started, right? I think clean tech has been, the focus internationally also for last many years. And even in India, in last 5-6 years, there has been a very tangible shift to startups in the clean tech space. And there are several reasons for that. Those living in Delhi NCR are very well aware of the pollution and the harm that is causing. Right. At the same time, there is, all the electricity challenges, the state governments have not been able to provide. And then these are not cleaner source of energy. And they are not cheap. Right. And so there are a lot of factors that have been in play where people are trying to solve for these problems. And these solutions are not only environmental friendly, but they're also pocket friendly. And these are the kind of solutions. So solar energy, for example, when the governments started mandating that, every industry has to have solar, and they started giving subsidies for that, right? Now, it's well established that they will give you better quality of electric supply and at a far more economical rates. And therefore, these subsidies are, to be very honest, not required because the industrialists will themselves move to a more, sustainable form of energy. These trends are very visible as investors to us and to many like us for a period of time. And therefore, we have been looking at this space at IPV since inception for the last 3 years, but in my individual capacity as an investor even before that. I've always believed that innovations are always good, and the startups always will generate you good returns when they are solving the problem of plenty. And energy is a very big problem to solve. Pollution is a very big problem to solve. And so if you can come up with a solution which can solve these problems, there are huge, huge growth to be made here.
Right. I want to come to you, Amol, to understand what kind of traction and demand you've seen over the last couple of months in the whole clean tech space. Specifically, you are to do with solar and solar panels. So tell us a little bit about what your experience has been.
If you look at the industry in the last 10 years, the prices of solar panels has come down. It has been coming down, down, and down. So everybody has been trying to put solar panels in their home. In the past 1 year, what has happened is that there is so much awareness about the solar. Wherever you travel through air, you travel through bus, you travel through train. Nowadays, the people can see solar panels nearby their homes, offices, and shops. So they also talk to the commercial consumers. They see that it is going to going to give a good benefit. In terms of commercial space, where the ROI is just 3 to 4 years. So for a businessman, it makes a very wise investment. For a residential customer, nowadays there has been a power shortage across the country. The shortage of coal has been happening from this month only, but in the summertime, the demand of electricity goes about 30% higher compared to the winter period. So when the power is going for a cut for let's say 3 to 4 hours, where the people were using the power backup system, which is like in what is in batteries, to just add a solar panel, it becomes an independent source of power for a home. And since the prices have been coming down, they prefer to go solar. And nowadays, because they can see the solar systems near to their home offices, so there has been attraction. In terms of, if I speak to the volume, government has increased the GST from 1st of October. It was from 5% to 12%. And when the consumer saw that the prices will again go up by 7%, you cannot believe today, in the month of October, none of the manufacturer has solar panels to sell it out. Everything was sold on 31st of September. That is the kind of demand that we're expecting right now.
Right, Kishan, I'd like to bring you in out here to try to understand what kind of demand you're seeing for greener fuels. Of course, that's something that everybody has been betting big on over the last couple of years. And at this point in time, do you think that the industry has sort of reached an inflection point?
I think, yeah, I think demand for all types of green fuels, including biofuels, that's the space which we are in, has been drastically increasing. Primarily because I think the technology of manufacturing various types of biofuels have also evolved significantly over the last 5 years. So 5 years back, the type of waste that could be processed into biofuel were much smaller, much lower. Now a wide variety of waste can be manufactured. So what this is done is biofuels become significantly cheaper, while fossil fuels and conventional fuels have become more scarce and more expensive. And similarly, the other factor that's played big is more and more millennials becoming decision makers. And sustainability, the vision for sustainability is is an integral part of all corporates and companies today. So because of which we see a lot of demand for greener fuels and biofuels across sectors, right from transport to infrastructure to manufacturing. We see all industries wanting to migrate towards greener biofuels because they see it as a cheaper alternative, as a more sustainable alternative, and as an alternative whose availability is going to increase as years pass. And yeah, so we see a significant increase in demand for greener fuels. We're experiencing it by the day.
Priya, the key here, I think, is that for this section to become popular, important, viable, right? They just cannot depend on government subsidies, right? The business has to have standalone power. Now, look at from a business point of view, right? What will attract them? Just the green story will not be attractive to them, right? So what would be attractive to them will be the economics and the availability. What they do not want is that their business viability getting affected because of the lack of supply, right? So what is now happening is that people are looking at it holistically. So where there is a demand for solar panels, or for there is the manufacturing of using the waste to convert it into a biofuel, which can then be used. If the supply is restricted, right, the industries will not adopt. So it's a very typical chicken and egg. What comes first, the supply or the demand? But here, to be honest, both have to come almost parallelly, because then only a business will become viable. And that is now happening. Fuel prices are rising, as you know. And to some extent, maybe that's where the government is coming from. We don't know what government is thinking, but there may be a merit in not reducing the price of fuel, because it will force the businesses to look at alternative fuel options, which is actually environmentally more friendly.
Right, Ankur, I want to talk to you as an investor. When you look at the clean tech space, it is a diverse sector. And, when you evaluate investments in the space, what sectors within the clean tech space are of interest to you, and where you see potential of, investing into these sectors?
So see, we have so far invested in BlueSmart, which is the EV, taxi cab hailing service. We have invested in Prescento, which is into the solar. We have invested in Kazam, which is into now charging and EV space. We have invested in Biofuel, which is a marketplace for the buyers and the sellers to come together. And very recently, we have invested in Pibeam, which is again going to promote the growth of the B2B, the business segment. So the Swiggies and the Olas and the Amazons and the last mile delivery problems. So currently they are all using all kind of bikes, but right, there is a sustainable move towards a very observable move towards the electric vehicles, right? So for us, what we look at is the total market size. And for us, that is very important. And the market size, and the pace and the growth rate of that market. We will prefer investing in a business which is, even at growth, a very, very small percentage of a very large market, versus looking at a business which is a very large percentage of a very small market, because then you have all kind of pricing pressures and supply pressures and all those things in play. So each of these businesses have shown that they are all part of a very big market, right? And the market which is growing, and the market which has tailwinds. So if you look even at Pibeam, which we have recently invested in, right? Amazon wants to move all their fleet to electric. Swiggy and Zomatos have made all their claims. Now they have different reasons. Electric is also, from a maintenance point of view, far cheaper than your ICE vehicles, right? The internal combustible engine vehicles, right? So there is now that business working, that, okay, I can have where my operation maintenance costs are low and the fuel cost is lower. Okay. But how will this demand be catered to? For this demand to be catered to, somebody has to produce electric vehicles, somebody has to charge them, somebody has to provide financing for them. So the market is huge. So for me as an investor, when these ideas come to me, I don't look at clean tech. If you just add the word clean tech, that doesn't make it exciting for me. At the end of the day, I look for businesses which have a huge capacity to grow, are part of a very large ecosystem, and I actually like competition. Because if there are a lot of people in that space, it means it's a big enough problem that many people are trying to solve. I actually get scared when an idea comes to me where nobody else is doing that. And then I question, okay, why is nobody else doing it? Right? And if I get a good answer, I'll invest. Otherwise, I will probably be more skeptical. So competition is good. So this is what I like as an investor, a large problem that needs to be solved. It may not get solved. But as an investor, that's the risk I'm taking. If the problem is very difficult to solve, I like it. Because then whoever succeeds in solving that problem will become big. As an investor, for me, that's what the attraction is.
Right. Amol, I would like to bring you in. A lot of residential buildings are also adopting solar panels, and there has been a lot of demand even in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities where we're seeing a lot of traction. So tell us a little bit about where you're seeing demand coming from, which cities are high and betting big on solar energy.
To understand, solar is about 20,000 crore market. And 90% are paying this into utility. Like the solar developer makes a project and sells the electricity to the government. Only 10% are the rooftop market, and out of 10%, only 1% is the residential market. So the residential market is right now very, very small. But if you look at last 3 years data, we started in year 2018. Our revenue was zero, and we are into 2021. We have grown to 100 crores. Roughly, we are doing about 10 crores monthly revenue every month. If you look at from where these numbers are coming, so there are 3 different types of solar segment. One segment where people are using the air conditioner and availability of electricity is 24/7, like all the metro city or the state capital, like Patna, Bhubaneswar, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai. Here, people are adopting solar panels to reduce their electricity bill. There is another market where there is a power failure for a couple of hours. It could be 3 or 4 hours, and that's called the tier 2 cities. the people are not wanting to buy the power backup system, which are like important batteries. They are willing to generate their own power. They are buying the solar power generation system. So all the tier two towns where people are building their home, they are willing that we should invest one time into solar and we will get the power for next 25 years because solar panels comes with a warranty of 25 years. That is the second market. The third market where it's a commercial space, the small atta chakki or the petrol pump or water pump. Right now, if you want to run an atta chakki, you need to pay a lot of bills to the government. Or if you want to run a agriculture water pump, you need to pay a lot of amount to bring the electricity to that point. So what people are doing, they are putting money into one time into solar and trying to get the benefit for the 25 years. So these are three subsegments. So the larger attraction is coming from those markets where the power is failing and people are wanting to go for solar with one-time investment. So these are tier two towns where we are getting the demands.
Right. Kishan, on your platform, I believe there are a lot of transactions that take place between buyer and seller. As a marketplace, what is your focus on in terms of adding more products and features onto the platform to aid, holistic sales on this marketplace? What would you be adding, and what kind of outlook do you see out there?
Right. So as in both, as in we'd be adding more products and more features, but initially we'd start with adding more features, making it more easier and easier for buyer, because as much as it's a growing space, biofuels and availability of wastes are becoming more and more decentralized, more and more dispersed, and hence so clarity is still not there. So we are a marketplace that's bringing in clarity, security to it. So the idea is to make biofuels more and more accessible to a much larger set of buyers. Similarly, making the wastes much more accessible to a large set of biofuel manufacturers, and making the entire transaction very transparent and secure. So this becomes a more and more challenge as product, unlike the fossil fuels and conventional fuels, which are centralized, manufactured, and then distributed. Biofuels and wastes across the world are decentralized production and decentralized distribution. So that needs more, there's more challenge in making it more secure and transparent. So as a platform, initially we will be focusing on adding features to ensure that this becomes more and more visible, more and more accessible, and more easy for buyers to buy wastes and biofuels. Along with this, yeah, I'm glad that you brought this point of adding more and more products. Biofuels is a very fast evolving sector. More and more fuels are coming up. Like there is this new concept of bio-CNG and CBG from practically any sewage wastes that's coming up, and the government is pushing it in a big way. And also green hydrogen is something that's coming up in a big way. So a lot of new products and new types of biofuels are coming. So we'll be adding more products also. So initially we'll be focusing on adding more features to make it more easy and more secure and more transparent for the buyers to switch to biofuels. But we'll also be adding more and more products as the very sector and the type of biofuels evolve.
All right. On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much for being a part of this very insightful panel discussion. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for being a part of the Daily Dispatch.
Well, time now to wrap up this edition of the Daily Dispatch. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Goodbye and see you soon.